What's up, everybody? It is your cousin Cleisha. If you're new here, welcome to Closing Open Wounds. And I'm in my thoughts, so I wanted to share some things with you. Technically, it is Christmas Day. It is the end of the day, and I had a conversation with a loved one, and I wanted to talk to you about it. Just to shed some light on a situation. So get comfortable. I'm not sure how long we're going to be, but I'm going to speak from my heart. And yes, this is concerning relationships. Why do I talk about relationships a lot on this channel? Because I believe it is necessary that we talk about some things. Okay. And in this day and age, I believe and I really feel that we need to carry grace for all forms of relationships. Now, I'm not talking about anything that is physically, mentally, verbally abusive. We're not talking about abuse, but we're talking about relationships. And I think that one of the hardest things to do in dealing with someone, anyone in any type of relationship, friendship, relationship, any type of capacity, relational or not, is whether it's time to let it go or to give it more time. I really, really believe that that is one of the hardest decisions that we come across as people that love and just people that are just living. Do I, give an individual more time, or do I cut my losses? And I'm recording this and I made note to tell you what day it is because this is the time of year where we really reflect on the relationships that we currently have. New Year is approaching. The new year is approaching. And it's a time for reflection. I'm in this current situation and it's not everything that I want. So do I let it go or do I continue to give it time? That's a hard question. That is a really hard question. I had a loved one call me today and we were on the phone for a little over 2 hours discussing and just unpacking, what was going on in her current situation. And I have been there too. So I want to, without giving any too much information, let me give you, some context. So obviously, we're talking about, dealing with a person, she'd been dealing with someone for some length of time, and the person has, the man has a hard time communicating. So I begin to ask her, because she's gotten advice from other people and they're just like, oh, just leave him and, basically cut your losses, whatever, just all the negative things. And this is outside of what I would normally say to actually tell her to just hold off just a minute. Mind you, my nickname has been Love 'em and Leave 'em for years. Not proud of it, but I have been known to be no nonsense. I have given grace. I have, communicated my wants, my needs, and desires. And after some time, if they're not met, or if I feel like, I'm being gaslit or somebody's playing in my face, your girl moves around. But as I'm getting older and I'm doing research about people and the trauma that they have, gone through in their adolescence, and just, the difference between someone who was raised in love and someone who was raised on survival. And depending on if you did the work or not, you see that amplified in your adult life. So I asked her a few questions. Is this man a good man at heart as a person? Not a perfect man, but is this man a good man? And she told me yes. And we talked about the different characteristics that he had. He was there, he was present, he wasn't perfect, he did some things that is like, you know better, you should have, you could have did this better. But innately, he was a decent human being. I have been in, situations where a person was not a decent human being. I'm going to be honest with you. If the person is verbally abusive, physically abusive, if they gaslight you, if they manipulate you, they change, they twist around your words. They have a lot of trauma, a lot of things that are going on in the inside of them. If they're yelling at you, screaming at you, cussing you out, hitting you, all of those things, that's not a good person. So we're not talking about that person. We're talking about, and this can go for male or female because this goes for females as well. You have some females that are very vindictive. They're very spiteful. They're very hurtful. They believe in the silent treatment. They'll leave you. They'll ghost you. They're everyone, they're going out, drinking, smoking, partying, being promiscuous, not a lover of God, Those are not good people innately. They're good. Everyone has good characteristics. Let's be clear. However, is this person a good person? Have they done the work? And unfortunately, you're going to come across people who have not done the work. Okay? So if they have hit any of those characteristics, they're using drugs, they're alcoholics, they're not, dealing with their issues in a healthy way. If they're stealing from you, they're sleeping around, they're having babies on you, they're cheating on you, they don't come home at night, they don't communicate, they ghost you for weeks, months at a time, all of those bad things, they're not good for you. They're not even good for themselves. How can they show up and be good for you? But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about a person that has some things that they just need to deal with, and you are the person that has actually shined a light on one of their deficiencies. You've become a mirror to this person, and they see the things that they need to work upon. To me, that's a good person, a decent person. I think we are, and I'm guilty of this. We're looking for a perfect product. We're looking for people that you don't have to explain your wants, needs, and desires. You don't have to, I don't want to say train, but you don't have to cultivate. We're looking for a person just to show up and do everything right. And it's just not true. It's never going to happen. You're never going to find that person. So we have to decipher, what kind of person are we dealing with? Do I trust this person? Do I see a future with this person? Yes, they don't do everything right. They may make some mistakes. We may bump heads, but are they a good person? So I begin to ask this, my loved one. I said, how old is the person? And this is why this is very important. She said the person is in his 40s. And this is what I want to talk about. Now, if you guys been on this channel and if you know me, I like to really go into the psyche of different things. I really want to get to the bottom of everything. So, I'm going to go all the way back to their childhood. If you're in your 40s, that means you're an 80s baby. What did we deal with in the 80s? The crack epidemic, especially in the Black community. It was so much of sit down, shut up, toughen up, you're a man, do as I say, don't speak, all of that. And we grow up with this. So how do we expect a man or a woman, for that matter, to come out and to be able to communicate? He don't talk to me. And listen, I'm the same one because I want you to talk to me. I have had this, you know what I mean, problem where I'm like, you just won't talk to me. But we have to understand that people need a safe place. And there is nothing you can say, nothing hardly you can even do besides be patient in order for a person to feel safe enough to communicate to you. Listen, there's no brand new people being dropped off on the earth in their 40s. Everybody's a fixer upper. There's no brand new, like a car, there's no brand new. Everything is used. But why are we just throwing people away at the slightest indifference? This message isn't for everybody and for every situation. I'm not talking about abuse. I'm not talking about breadcrumbing. I'm not talking about someone abandoning you, neglecting you, not meeting your needs. We're not talking about that. You know? I'm just trying to shed a light on the situation as to what we are dealing with. We're dealing with people who had to raise themselves. We're dealing with people who were abused and didn't even know that they were abused. Okay? This is the result of what we're dealing with. This is what's going on with our men, and this is what's going on with some of the women. This is why, the different traumas that women go through, being prideful and giving the silent treatment and going out and partying and not listening and can't have a man covering them. That's why it's very important when we are dating to talk about what happened in the childhood. And I'm going to tell you something else. If they're uncomfortable initially talking about their childhood, then that's still a wound. It's still open. You know when you're healing through something or you've healed through something when you can talk about something. It's no longer a touchy subject. I'm no longer crying about it. It happened. I learned. I moved on. People say all the time, oh, I moved on. We was divorced 15 years ago and, I'm doing good. But you still talk about the situation like it just happened yesterday. You are not as healed as you think you are. I'm sorry, sweetheart. You're not. If you can't talk about it to help somebody else without crying and going right back to the hurt and pain of the thing, you're not healed. And it's fine, but recognize that and do the healing. Do the work. But I just want to sound the alarm that we're dealing with a lot of hurt people that are products from abusive childhoods. And this is the thing. People have gone through all of these years without it being uncovered until they met you. You being a healed individual, you doing your work, you realizing and noticing the red flags right off the bat, and you not being scared enough to address it to them. You being a secure individual to say, hey, I know you've been doing this for 40 years, but do you know that this is not healthy? Some people don't even get that close enough to be revealed to someone else, to be vulnerable to someone else. It's going to take time, patience, love, grace. So now it's easy for everybody to say, oh no, just leave them. Oh no, they should have known better. How do we know that? How do we know? When no one has been healed enough to require what you are asking for. We're at a pivotal moment right now. But if we just give up on everybody, we're all going to be alone. No one's going to send the olive branch, bend the knee, show grace, show forgiveness. Give people space and time to figure it out. And I'm not talking like I've always been this way, y'all. I have not. God is dealing with me right now. And one day I'll be able to really tell y'all what's going on with me. Okay? You got to know, and you got to go to God, and you got to pray and say, is this a connection, Lord, that you want me to sustain? If not, dig it up from the root. But if so, give me the grace to sustain. I don't want to give up on this person. This is a good person. Yeah, they may do this one thing. They may do this thing. Okay, but you do stuff too. Who's perfect? Who's perfect? Raise your hand. Are you perfect? Don't you make mistakes? Don't you want grace? Don't you want someone to love? Okay. There are more traumatized people on the earth than healed people. There are more people who've come out of foster care, who's raised on their own, who ran away, who were abused and neglected. There are way more people like that, but are they not deserving of love? Are they not? I'm just talking, but think about it. You're not going to get with someone who you're not going to have to tell them what you like or what you prefer. You're going to do it in a respectful way. You're going to do it in love. You're not going to be demanding about it. People have fragile egos, male and females. It ain't even just a male thing. Women got fragile egos too. You can't tell nobody nothing without them feeling like a failure. I'm not saying that you're a failure. I'm just saying I need you to communicate with me a little better. That's it. When you're a secure person and when you don't lean on anyone to bring you happiness, you can state what you want and give them that information and let them do with it what they will. I told you this is what I need. And, if you are willing, great. And if you're not, great. Then I'm going to have to move on. We're not throwing temper tantrums. We're not cussing people out. We're not doing the silent treatment. We're not doing none of that. Sweetheart, this is what I need. And you let me know if this is feasible for you. If not, then I gotta go. But this is after we have those uncomfortable conversations in love. We have to give clarity. No one's going to read your mind. You know what I mean? Like, I used to think that in my early marriages, like, oh, you should know how I feel. I'm a woman, you're a man, you should know. No, they don't know. Especially if they didn't have a decent mother. A lot of men are walking around with mother wounds. We always talk about the absent father, but what about the present toxic mother? I'm just giving you something to think about, cousin. This is real stuff that we are dealing with. And it needs to be talked about. So I pray you hear my heart. I just want us to have the loves that we desire, but understand that they're going to take work. Relationships take work. And now I'm not telling you to go out here and be a Build-A-Bear. We're not doing that. But a decent human being that wants to be there for you, but just doesn't know how, I think that's worth the investment. Okay? I really, really think that's worth the investment. But only you can make that decision. Now, I want to say this. After you have these vulnerable and uncomfortable conversations, you have to give space for the person to digest everything that was said. They need time to process things. I'm like that. I need time to process what you just said. Did you mean it like this? Well, is this, Keisha, is this your trauma, reacting, or, what's going on? Is this the healed version of you? Who's speaking right now? Give them time to come back and process, and let them tell you what they got out of what you said. And then you can correct, well, that's not what I meant. I meant, this, that, and the third. To build that healthy communication. And when you do this, this is how you create the safe space. Again, we're not yelling, fussing, and cussing. Okay? But because of all the trauma that people have endured in their youth, they become non-confrontational, and people do shut down. That's a defense mechanism. We can't be selfish in relationships. And relationships and love and marriage is very, very hard. It's work. It is work to stay together. But find someone who you're willing to do that work with. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted to give you guys something to think about. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling, what you're dealing with, because I travel for work and I talk to a lot of individuals, and we talk about relationships all the time, and everyone is saying that there's no good people out here. And I get that. I totally get that. I don't come across, my way as of yet, a whole bunch of quality men that I would like to date. You know what I mean? I don't come across that. And I do feel that there are more good women in the world than there are good men. Men don't fight me. I love y'all. But I think men have a better chance of finding a good woman than us women have of finding a decent man. And fight me on it, but don't fight me. That's kind of my opinion, but I know way more single decent women than I know single decent men. I'm just going to say that. But in order for us to have a decent love, you're going to have to pick someone that you can forgive, like, consistently. And this is very hard for me to say, I'm hanging up my belt. I'm hanging up my title, love them and leave them. Like, you find someone that you can love consistently, finding someone that you can forgive consistently. Like, you're the person I am choosing to love and forgive and grow and build consistently for the rest of my life. There are no new people out here, beloved. Sorry to tell you. God's not sprinkling 40-year-olds. I'm in my 40s. So, someone asked me, would I date someone, like 30s or something? And I'm like, heavens no. I prefer someone in their 40s. I'm in my 40s. I'm 44. I need someone in my generation. I just think that it'd be better for me. To me, it's something about a man when they get in their 40s that, most time that's when they hit, the epiphany happens, and they grow up and they realize what's more to life, and they want what God wants for them. And then they're ready for commitment. Most times, it's something about a man when he turns 40, right? So that's just my preference. God, you do whatever you want to do, Lord. But, everyone has their preferences. But, my wish is just for us to come together and find a love that we can believe in. But we are really going to have to work with people, because for my generation, we have been through hell. We have been through absolute hell. A lot of abuse that was undocumented. There was no cell phones. I mean, there was, but when I was a kid, no, it was recording stuff and, just a whole bunch of stuff that we had to deal with. So I'm saying all this, in my closing, just for us to really think about what we discussed and reflect, and to just think about the connections that maybe we have given up on, or didn't try as much. And if God has told you to wait, and you don't have anybody, then you wait. If all of your exes are toxic, and they don't mean you no good, or you're in something right now that that God is pushing you away from, then you do that. This is, like I said, this is just for us who are dealing with decent people, and there are a few characteristics that we don't care too much for, but they're workable. Like, we can work on that, things that we can work on. I would admonish you to give that a chance. But that is it, my love, my beloved. I love you guys, and I know this time of year can be very, very hard for me as a single woman, and my mom not being here. I mean, my life is still full. My kids came, my grandbaby, my granddog came, and we spent time together. We did all that, so we find other ways to get love outside of just relationally. So have a full life. I'm going to preach that until I'm up out of here. Have a full life, and all is well. I just wanted to give you something to think about. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.